Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Procrastinating Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Stein, and this week we have an interesting episode. It's themes we've covered before, similar ideas, but we have a special guest. And following up with the last few weeks, we have a report on Liverpool FC, as I think we will continue to in the future as the season winds down for the club. So without further ado, let's get into Liverpool and a feature interview with a job professional. Okay, we are back in the saddle, episode 87 of the Procrastinating Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Stein, as I mentioned in the intro. It's so good to be back here with you. This week, we are continuing on a theme of the past few weeks by talking about Liverpool Football Club. Now, if you don't know who they are a soccer team in England based in Liverpool, where the same city as the Beatles came from, and they're very, very good. They are second in the Premier League, which is the English top flight league. They are also in the FA Cup final, which is the biggest domestic cup in England. They also won the League Cup earlier this year, which is just a rung below that. And they're competing to win the Champions League, which is the tournament of all the best teams across Europe. They are deep into every competition that they are competing in. One that came up this week was a big game against their somewhat rival of Manchester City. They played each other in the FA Cup semi-final. Now, the FA Cup stands for the Football Association Cup. Football Association is an old association, started in England way back in the day, back in the 1800s. They started the FA Cup as a cup for all English teams to get involved and have their chance to play for English glory. For the longest time, it was the most storied and anticipated and loved and magical cup in all of England. It was the most watched, the most sought after, because it gave every team a real chance to chase glory and be involved in the conversation with the best teams. The FA Cup works in a way that every team in England within the top 10 leagues, which there are hundreds of teams in those leagues, they play in a an elimination style tournament, and ultimately can make the FA Cup final and play in London in front of 90,000 fans in Wembley Stadium. I mentioned Liverpool playing their somewhat rivals of Manchester City this past weekend. They also played each other last week, which we mentioned on the podcast, but they played again in a different competition this week, the FA Cup semifinal, where Liverpool luckily won 3-2 after an incredible first half, going up 3-0 in the first half. Were incredibly dominant in the first half, despite some mistakes by the Manchester City goalie, which allowed Liverpool to score an easy goal. But either way, the Manchester City goalie also happened to be American. Hurts a little bit, but I'd rather Liverpool score and American goalie look bad than American goalie look good and Liverpool lose. So swings and roundabouts. So they beat Man City after a tough draw a week earlier in the Premier League, and they advanced to the FA Cup final, their first one in a while. Accidental bars. Liverpool's win over City was huge, as a loss at this point in the season is bad for any team. You don't want a loss this late in the season, especially if you're competing closely with other teams for cup finals and ultimately to win trophies. Because a loss at this time, whether they really cared about winning the FA Cup or not, is a different conversation. A loss can be subliminal and a little bit quieter influence on your confidence, especially to your rival who you're directly competing with for the Premier League title. So this is a huge win for Liverpool. It's about only winning by one goal. The meaning of the win was a lot more than the actual result. The meaning of the win could potentially play some doubt into the Manchester City players' minds as the season winds down, knowing that Liverpool have the capacity to beat them and beat them pretty comfortably. That's something that could potentially weigh on them down the line in the season. The other semifinal was between Chelsea and Crystal Palace. Chelsea FC are a very good team, coached very well. They're third in the Premier League, and they're the team that I'm the most afraid of since City are out of it for Liverpool to play in the final. That being said, in a one-off game, I'm going to take my money on Liverpool every day. It should be noted that while Liverpool are playing incredibly well, and they are playing a good team in Chelsea, who actually won 3 of the last 4 FA Cup finals and have competed in 4 of the last 5. So just factor that in, keep that in your head for a second. For the last 4 years, they have won 3 of the FA Cup finals, which you may not know what the FA Cup is. You may not think if it's a big tournament or not, but winning some tournament, regardless of what it is, 3 out of 4 years is remarkable. And it's something to be noted. I don't know how that necessarily factors into this game plan of this upcoming final, but it could be a factor. It should be noted that last time Liverpool and Chelsea played in the FA Cup final was in the 2011-12 season, where the Chelsea Blues beat the Liverpool Reds 2-1 in the FA Cup final in Wembley. So it's been a decade now, actually, a full decade since they last played each other in the FA Cup final. So we have some sort of a rematch of sorts. Much different teams, much different managers. A lot has changed since then, but it's still going to be an incredible game either way. Like I said earlier, my money is on the Reds. Come on, Liverpool. Now, we've talked about Liverpool. We've checked in for them this week. Let's move on to sort of the meat and potatoes of the episode and talk about getting a job. In a week, I have an interview of sorts for a job offer in Chicago. So I figured, approaching that, I would have my friend come on who's been more involved in the job process than I have. Ozan King, talk to him about the job process, what he's experienced, what he's learned in his time applying to jobs, filling out resumes, and doing all the stuff you got to do to get a job. Let's chat with him. Thank you very much, Matthew. I'm here now with our special guest, job professional, Ozan King.
That's me.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. It's your second appearance?
Yeah.
Okay, second.
It should be more.
Should be, yeah, should be. And you've definitely been featured whether through pictures or video or me mentioning you
I didn't know.
many times.
The mentions I could get, but the pictures, I don't know what pictures. But
I don't know. I'm assuming you've been featured
I don't need
before.
to figure it out. That's your business.
I mean, it's on the internet, so it's kind of everybody's business.
Oh, boy.
Coming up in a week, next Monday, a week from today, actually, I have my first ever professional. It's not technically a job interview, but I'm meeting to talk about the company and potential opportunities.
Well, I feel like
so
that's
essentially,
the first, that's the first process in letting yourself know who you are of the company. Because I mean, at the point of the interview, if you go into it without any like recollection of if they don't know who you are and you don't know who they are, so
it's like they're just getting hello, feeling me out,
it's a
seeing
reference
where I'm
point.
at.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's coming up in a week. It's my first real adult meeting of sorts for a job that I've ever had. You are a person who's much more practiced in that, whether it's just by you being preparedness or difference of major, whatever it is. You've done a lot of it. So let's go back to the beginning though. When was like your first interview? Do you remember your first interview?
Ooh, okay. So
whether for something serious or silly, even like working at a lemonade stand back in the day or something.
I think my first interview was for a scholarship for college.
Oh, really?
And also
you didn't like no summer job even before then?
No, I actually did not work a lot during my my high school career.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe it was just like a part of my family dynamic. I kind of regret not having that experience in like a summer job. I wish I did.
No, I did. Wish I didn't have it. So
yeah.
It's like a growing up experience. I get what you're saying, but it's not that great.
Yeah. So usually like the only opportunities that I had were just doing things for like my parents or like their relatives or whatnot. But the first main they didn't interview for that. They weren't suspicious about your character with those people. Okay. Not generally not. No.
That's good.
I mean, my dad questioned me a lot.
Of course,
but that's
just being
typical,
a dad. But yeah.
But
so for college, how'd that go? For scholarships, I guess.
Yeah, just for a scholarship. It was with the NHS, National Honor Society, and you were just interviewed for just basically like the criteria of like your GPA, your SAT scores, yada yada.
Are you a good student?
And how do you involve yourself in the community?
Yeah.
So once you get into that, you get a scholarship, and you could use that towards going to different types of colleges.
Yeah.
And it helps having it on your.
Were you stressed going into that interview? Were you pressed at all?
Not really, because
how are you in interviews? I mean, we're both good with people. We're both good conversationalists. Can talk for hours and hours about just about nothing. So.
Yeah.
Do interviews stress you out? How do you feel about them?
It really depends on who you're interviewing with.
Okay.
Especially if you know the person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's this company that I'm really wanting to get into called Equitable Advisors. And there's a recruiter there that I've been talking to for like a year. And every interaction that I've had with that company, it's been a bliss.
Yeah.
But kind of like cold calls, if you're just going to an interview just straight up with no recollection of, anything about the company at all, it's a little anxiety inducing.
Oh, for sure, because you feel a little more like you're treading water.
Yeah, you're trying to like kind of tiptoe, knowing like how do I sound good, but at the same time not sound too posh or something?
And you don't want to. There's potential for you to potentially even say something like wrong about the company.
Yeah.
That's a nightmare,
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, exactly.
So now we're seniors. That was way back freshman year.
Yep.
The interviews are always the same, even though they're kind of different. They vary. But now we're to the point where we're applying to jobs and everything. And we've talked before, and over Christmas break, so you're a finance major. You also like to plan a lot. So you were way ahead of the curve and applying to jobs even way back then, even though you still graduate in another semester or year or so.
Yeah.
Why did you apply to so many jobs from all those 45-ish jobs, right?
Yeah. So
how many interviews did you get? Talk us through your whole mindset, that whole process.
So I got 4 interviews, and then
out of 45-ish applications,
which most of those are still pending.
Okay.
So there's still
just
time.
You just sent them in online.
Yeah. So
I hate online applications.
That's basically I used the service Handshake, and I mean, have you used Handshake?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So I just sent everything that I need to through there, and then, yeah, I mean, the interviews throughout college experiences have been. It's been a lot more professional.
Absolutely.
And explaining who I am currently and how it's mainly been how I've changed as a person in conjunction with what I've been doing with my major for the past 4 years. So how I've expressed myself and how I've
how you perform at interviews is what you're saying, or what do you mean? That's how is this what you trying?
That's how I portray myself.
Okay, that's what you try and translate in the interview. Got you.
Exactly.
Has that worked well? Have you found experience with or success with that?
It's worked well, and I think it also depends on the type of interview too.
Absolutely.
So if it's a Zoom interview, I feel like it's a little bit easier because you can kind of talk with them on, I don't know, maybe more personable traits like what do you like to do for fun or yada yada. But with just a phone interview, it's a little odd. Also, yeah, exactly. Yeah. The one time I was at a cafe and I was eating a croissant and they're like, "Hey, do you have time to talk?" And I was like, "I don't." And they're like, "Okay, we'll call you back." They never called back.
Damn.
I didn't want to work for them anyway, but
okay. I mean, so I guess works out, I suppose. Did you? So when you talk about wanting to translate yourself through these interviews, did you have you prepare well for them? Did you practice your answers before? Because I find myself wanting to. Granted, I haven't had that many interviews yet. In fact, we mentioned my first one coming up in a week, but I want to relay myself and translate who I am as a person and be Matthew B. Stein in the interview. But I also don't want to sound unprofessional or uninterested or too casual. So, what's been your experience with that with your interviews? Have you practiced to really get your answers nailed down, or is it a gray area between the two?
I think the process that I like to go through is called PP.
PP,
so
okay.
Professionally. Oh, what was it? Dang it! Oh no.
Strip P.
I forgot it.
Professionally practiced.
No, what is it?
Professionally prepared.
Yeah, we'll go with that one. It was something different, but it's basically the 3 main things that I focus on whenever I'm interviewing for anyone or just trying to get into the door with a company is prepare for the interview.
Of course.
Just prepare for the questions that might come, the type of people that you're going to be talking to, and some of the questions that they might ask. Just be ready and prepare yourself, and don't just take yourself out of the bubble of thinking oh, they're just, I'm the tiniest thing, they don't care about me. No, they probably do care about you.
They spend the time to invite you to an interview, so they care that much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're taking the chance with you. And at the same time, while in their interview, you might be the headstone of what's being talked about, but at the same time, they're taking the chance and their time and money and allocations to talk to you as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. And also just be approachable. Just be ready.
Of course.
Be ready to talk. Even if you don't,
I think that kind of goes along with an always say yes kind of mindset. Just always open.
Yeah, exactly. And know some things you may not know, and you're not going to be a genius over all the things that you might be talking to about them with. But just be ready to talk to them about either the questions that you might have, a lot of the preparations that you made, and also just some next step questions as well, how can I get in contact with you, or how can I keep in contact with you, or what are the next steps if I were to get in this position, yada yada. So just you want to get out of the interview either knowing that you want to work for them, or just being more knowledgeable,
or that you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Either or just knowing what you want to do with the company and their next steps, what for maybe the second round of
opportunities for both of you to gain, kind of.
Exactly.
So with those questions, you kind of just listed a few, but are there any questions that you are kind of a go-to for you? Maybe there are what you just listed. Have there been any questions maybe that you've been asking that you've asked in interviews that have been gotten a particularly good response that somewhat surprised you?
The one question that I always get the response of, "Oh, great question." I always
aim for that. Aim for that.
Sometimes I can't tell if the recruiter's like just bullshitting or they're just like they actually enjoyed it. But
good question.
Yeah.
Like, good for you.
Yeah,
You asked the question.
It's just like a pat on the back. But it's usually what has made you stay in the position within the company to this day.
Ooh.
Because usually recruiters have been there for years and years and years. And what was the initial position that you came into this role with?
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, so it's a two-part question.
Not only are they about they're not only about the company, but they're also personalized the person you're asking about, and it does kind of toe that line between like wanting to be professional but also casual. It opens the door for them to be like, oh, I was 24. I just got out of my first job, and I had these options, and I weighed this and that and this and that, and Paragon, which is the company. Shouldn't say the name, but the company just it worked out for me. So like that's a really good question. That's something I don't really think about because I feel like I'm supposed to ask like, what are some opportunities at this company? What are some things that the last candidate didn't do that I could do better? Like weird questions like that I don't want to really ask. I don't want to say I don't care about the answer, but I'd rather ask other questions, more interesting questions that are a little different flavor. And I think what you offered is a good option for sure.
It's there's no such thing as dumb questions, only dumb people. So,
I like that.
So yeah, just try to ask the questions that you honestly do care about and want to learn. Like don't go into an interview or any opportunity thinking like I'm just gonna do this to look good, because you're not gonna be getting anything from it. Yeah. Go into it leaving from it, or go into it trying to gain more experience than you knew from the company. Yeah.
Gotcha.
My brain is a total fog.
You're good. Yeah, Ozan's had a weird busy day. He also is always doing 700 things. He is always doing schoolwork, always doing something, staying up late, not sleeping, getting bloody noses. He had 2 of them today. So appreciate you taking the time to be here with us.
Anything for you, bud.
So you started out, we'll say, 45 jobs in the winter, and then you got 3 interviews from there. From there, did you get any offers? What was the follow-up process from there? What happened?
It's still kind of pending, but I'm also applying to more and more places, because a lot of places, just because of the open job market right now, there's a lot of companies that are either adding different types of roles, or they're needing roles that are, either people are leaving for different positions, or they're just not working. But yeah, there's just a lot of openings that are happening here and there. So I think just keeping an eye out for specific companies that you would like, and the same ones that you maybe applied towards and you didn't get.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, another advice: apply for different positions in the same company. It will help.
Yeah.
It will help. Yeah. That's one thing that I did a lot, because I got a position with 2 roles that I applied 4 roles out of.
So there's a company that has four positions open
that like pertain to me. Yes.
And you applied to all 4 of them.
Yes.
And you got interviews for 2 of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Alongside that, I guess, so you say you apply to many jobs in the company. Are you saying also potentially apply to jobs that you're not qualified for? Because I find myself, my experience is in sports production, but I also have this liberal arts education underlying that of touching all different kinds of things and having knowledge of like data analytics and journalism, but also just communications and PR and those kind of things. So there are jobs that are available to me, or available, that I want to apply for, I'm interested in, but I hesitate applying for, because most of my deep, like strong experiences in live sports production, which may not really pertain to the role. So would you say it's still worth it to apply to roles like that, even if you're not the most qualified?
I'd say definitely, because you always have to take the chance, and at the same time, I think showing yourself as a difference, maybe because you don't have certain position or like certain aspects of that role that that they would want.
Yeah.
Could show a little bit of difference between the candidates that they may have, and they actually might put more emphasis on, okay, maybe let's take a look. But if not, it's not the end of the world, because, okay, you get rejected. So
That's
what?
True.
There's millions upon companies that you're just going to, you're going to have another chance just to like, test the waters with. So I think just taking the chance with any type of company, no matter the position, if you want it, go for it.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt. You get rejected, you move on.
Yeah, there's no real harm that I guess can be done. It's like,
no, you're not paying for it.
When you're at a bar going to talk to a pretty girl, what's the worst thing you could say? It's no.
Okay, different.
She could splash your drink in your face, but like,
yeah.
You still survive. You come out on the other side, So
yeah.
I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's been a while since you've been on the podcast. Anything you want to let people you got going on in your life?
Oh, gosh.
Any news? Any exciting things coming up for Ozan potentially?
I mean, I'm just excited for summer. I think I might be finally traveling last summer. Last summer I just didn't travel at all. I was just in the senior house that I'm in right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully some traveling.
Any ideas where you might want to go?
Probably Turkey. I also
we have a trip in the works.
I know.
We've talked loosely about a trip to go to Turkey to visit your fam bam from the old country.
And honestly, COVID isn't really even an issue there anymore. So
COVID's kind of. I mean, maybe in some parts of the world it's probably still rampant.
Shanghai is risky right now, bro.
But,
have you seen what's going on there?
No, not at all.
So people that are because they're in their second tier of lockdown, and there was a video that I saw. Hopefully it's not fake. I hope it is fake because it was kind of terrifying. But people are literally shouting and aghasting because they're just like they've been trapped in their homes for months.
Oh,
and
so
they need to go out.
Serious cabin fever.
Yeah, exactly.
Losing their minds.
And you hear children and women screaming from the apartments, and then there's this Chinese guy that he's explaining something. I can't understand him obviously because I don't know either Mandarin or Chinese, but. Yeah. It was just terrifying.
You don't even need to speak the language and like understand the video.
You could tell just by the tone and the emotion.
Yikes.
I don't know how I got to that. Sorry.
I don't know. We just jumped to COVID. What were we? What are you doing
traveling for the summer probably, and working for a full-time position. Probably finalizing a role for myself, and then taking some summer classes on the side as well. I think it's gonna be weird because I'm gonna be living by myself.
You are
for the first time ever.
Yeah. Where are you gonna be living at?
I don't know yet. I'm still apartment searching, so we'll see. But I'm probably gonna be owning a cat. Probably.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm.
Any pre-prediction for some cat names? Maybe we could have some viewers submitted in the comments.
Like Wilbert.
I think you're gonna go Winslow.
Winslo's kind of good too.
Kind of depends on the vibe of your cat as well.
Yeah,
you gotta meet the cat first when you name them.
Too.
Yeah. Because if you get a quiet, just like comfy boy, I think Winslow's a pretty good name. Yeah. Pretty like dignified.
I need to get like an old British name.
Yeah.
Just like
Rupert.
Winthorpe. Or like Harry.
Winston.
Winston's good. Oh, Winston actually might be a good. I love we like listed all the names just to start with W.
Yeah, that's true. I guess
they're pretty good though. Now that I think about it.
William's
good too.
Yeah.
But
nothing really coming up. Just summer.
Not just too much. Yeah, just living day by day.
Yeah.
Just trying to finish the semester strong and
get by.
Yeah, be healthy, be happy, be prepared for kind of everyone to leave.
Happy, healthy, horny.
Yeah.
The 3 H's.
The 3 H. Triple H.
Triple H.
He's coming back.
Triple H.
What was his thing?
I don't know.
Like walked up. I don't know what it was. No, that's just a dub. I can't remember. But yeah, it's just gonna be weird living by myself and no one that I really know from. Yeah, I think I'm predicting it's gonna be a little lonely.
Yeah,
just for the first couple of days, just because everyone's kind of somewhat gonna be either gone or
doing
living
something
or gonna have a full-time position. So we'll see.
Well, if you ever need anything, call your boy.
That's true. Yeah, your home's here, so
yeah, I'll be around. Maybe in Chicago. Maybe
I'll gladly
elsewhere.
Come to Chicago.
Who knows?
That's one city that I definitely want to move to one day.
But for the future, I guess we shall just wait and see. Yeah. Can't really predict the future until it happens. So
you can prepare for it just like your interviews, but you can't.
You can't really control it. You got to just let it happen.
I was trying to think of something, but Grandpa King up here can't.
Yeah, he's about to go take a fat nap. But that is it for this week's episode of the Procrastinating Podcast, episode 87, with special guest, job professional, Ozan King. One of my best friends, if not my best friend. Appreciate you coming on the podcast.
I appreciate you having me.
Anything you want to leave the people with?
Don't stress out. Everyone have a great day. You've got everything coming for you. Just relax, enjoy life, and take it day by day.
Inshallah.
Yeah. Inshallah.
Inshallah. That is it for this week's episode of the Procrastinating Podcast. I've been your host, Matthew B. Stein. You've been fantastic as always. And I'll see you in next week's episode of the Procrastinating Podcast. Maybe with more information on the job. Maybe not. We'll see. Who knows? See ya.
Do the Twitter noise.
It's pretty good though. It's pretty spot on. Kind of nailed it.
I don't even have Twitter.